Y'all, I just want to say one thing, y'all. I just want to shout out Cash Jordan, dog. Shout out Cash Jordan, no bat, man. Make sure y'all tap in, man. Make sure y'all go check him out, tap in. He been keeping me up on politics, you feel me? Pleasure for me to be able to share his channel and his content with you guys. Tap in, let's get it.
The following program is rated TV MA. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tap in, let's get it.
And the U.S. efforts to guide vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, issuing a new warning to the Iranian regime, saying if the Iranians try to target U.S. ships in this area, they will be, quote, blown off the face of the earth.
At the same time, South Korea says it is now working to verify that one of its vessels was also attacked by Iran. Now, this comes as Iran is warning the United States not to interfere in the Strait of Hormuz or else. Take a look at this statement from Iran's head of the military of their united forces. It says, quote, "We warn that any foreign armed forces, especially the aggressive U.S. Army, will be attacked if they intend to approach and enter the Strait of Hormuz."
With what?
CENTCOM this morning denied an Iranian state media report claiming that Iran hit a U.S. warship with 2 missiles attempting to pass through the strait. CENTCOM says, quote, "No U.S. Navy ships have been struck."
This
Yesterday,
is crazy.
an oil tanker was
So, if you guys aren't familiar, the U.S. is having a war right now. Doesn't seem like it, between fake politics, fake news, and the way that the U.S. is apparently putting belt to ass. It's hard to tell or know what to believe. You know what I'm saying? However, something is going down. You wouldn't know what the fuck is going on if you aren't doing research. Following headlines is not going to give you the answer. You feel me? You really have to look into it, check other sources, because there's a side that's saying one thing, there's another side that's saying another thing. So it's best to just tap in when you got the time. Tap in.
attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, hit by unknown projectiles north of the UAE. Just before that, a cargo ship was attacked by multiple small boats near the coast of Iran.
This looks like Iran's last stand. But what exactly are they hoping to accomplish by attacking empty ships that don't have any oil on them and are stuck in a U.S. blockade?
Now, President Trump launched Project Freedom this morning, the humanitarian effort to safely guide some 800 cargo ships.
You know what I think? I think they're using that as a way to gain social remorse. You feel what I'm saying? Because the U.S. at this present moment will look at it as a threat, but later on they'll look at it as an excessive use of force, and will probably have to pay what they call it, reparations and stuff like that. So, you know, like the reason why I also say this is because when they were claiming that they were gonna bomb America, you know, death to America, all of that, you know, everybody that brought fear to everybody, and a lot of people felt like it was calling for them to have to, you know, look at them as an enemy of force. But now that there's a war going on, there, you know, a certain party is saying, you know, just because they're threatening doesn't mean that they should be, you know, hit with fire, or, you know, they shouldn't be at war, or you get what I'm saying? So, you know, there's a lot of say, you know, hypotheticals, but when it's time to really get down and dirty, a lot of people aren't really aren't wanting to get down and dirty. You feel me?
Tankers and 20,000 crew members that are stranded out of the strait. The U.S. has established an enhanced security area south of the strait's usual traffic area along Oman's territorial waters, and so far 2 U.S. flagged merchant ships have successfully gotten out. The Wall Street Journal says U.S. naval ships are not escorting ships out of
the amount of information that we get. You guys see the traffic? There's a traffic going on with the strait, as if this is a motherfucking traffic cam, a street traffic cam or a highway cam and shit.
Now, the Wall Street Journal says U.S. naval ships are not escorting ships out of the strait, but CENTCOM says guided missile destroyers, 100+ land and sea-based aircraft,
and we're supposed to believe a bunch of little speedboats are going to stop this entire operation to reopen this Strait of Hormuz?
Remember, this was a project implemented by the Americans overnight to assist the hundreds of vessels that are currently trapped in the Persian Gulf. We're talking about more than 20,000 sailors.
I'm gonna give y'all a better explanation.
The president told Fox he's doing this for humanity. Some of these sailors were running out of food and supplies on these vessels due to the...
So, you know, these threats, these fake news and stuff that, like I said, it instills fear. So people that want to regularly do their jobs, they can't. There's a lot of terror that they're facing, right? Potentially, you know, just like how Iran threatened that they were going to hold down the Strait of Hormuz and block it off. Well, America stepped in, and instead now they're controlling the traffic going on in the Strait of Hormuz. And not only that, they're allowing it to flow how it needs to flow. So now, you know, the narrative has changed from Iran controlling it to now the U.S. controlling it. Not only that, now the U.S. is dominating it. You know what I'm saying? They're allowing things to move how they're supposed to move. They're helping sailors get through safely. You know what I'm saying? And the ironic part about it is Iran is nowhere to really be found. Like, they don't even exist in this battle. You get what I'm saying? So they pretty much deceived, broke the necks of the spectators and the onlookers. You know, and that's politics. A lot of times it's politics. Like I said, sometimes it's a little different. It's a different story when it's time to get down and dirty, right? One of the things about it is in politics, people have allies. And so, you know, when there's an agenda, these allies will group together. They'll be hidden. You won't even know that they're allies, but they'll work together because it'll benefit what they have going on. But when there's somebody that shows force, that shows that they have power, that changes the narrative. You get what I'm saying? That changes the narrative because now that person with force and power is instilling something and presenting something that was not in the plans of. You feel what I'm saying? Unless there was a strategy or a plan that could just blink it under and... But you get what I'm saying.
Iranian threats that are ongoing in this area.
Really
and
interesting.
again, the president saying that if U.S. ships in the region are targeted, the Iranians will be blown off the face of the earth. Now, I also asked President Trump about the possibility of negotiations with Iran succeeding. He said the Iranians are being far more malleable than they were being in the past, showing flexibility given the U.S. pressure that continues as part of the American blockade of Iranian ports. President Trump called that blockade the greatest military maneuver in history.
And that's because
flexible,
in spite of what Iran is saying about how they're still around and how they're going to continue this thing forever, they have even less time than they've had this entire time.
And now we are sprinting towards...
So they're saying Iran, you know, being malleable, meaning they're being... they don't have the advantage. Basically, the U.S. is doing whatever the fuck they want, but not in a way to force, but it's just like Iran called this upon themselves. If they had that force, and really, they're just malleable. Meaning, really, they could just be folded like a lawn chair. You feel what I'm saying? And now, when it comes to negotiations, obviously, they can't really have anything to present to the table. The only thing that they started with was power and threats, and now their only leading play is the threat. You know what I'm saying?
The finish line.
I can tell you that we are suffocating the regime, and they are not able to pay their soldiers. This is a real economic blockade, and it is in all parts of government, all hands on deck. It is the blockade that our great Navy is doing. No ships are getting through.
Nothing.
And we have
I would not want to see this for
on
Haiti.
Anyone trying to remit money into Iran to
can't even send them money.
IRGC. You know, they are corrupt
institutions. If it's Iran's resources, see, now that's the
money
difference.
Offshore. We've tracked that down. We will continue to track that down, and we're going to preserve those assets for the Iranian people on the other side of this conflict. It's the Gulf neighbors who I would describe as somewhat permissive in allowing.
And on top of being totally corrupt and liars and not honest, their claim of attacking a U.S. warship was demonstrably false from the get-go. Look at where the Strait of Hormuz is, and then look at where the U.S. blockade is. The U.S. ships are not going through the strait. There's nothing to attack. They would have to literally approach the U.S. blockade with a bunch of these little speedboats and fire something and hope that they make it home. But now the question is, what happens next?
As it relates to the combat preparations that continue across the region, President Trump understands there are two paths here. The Iranians either make a good faith deal or ultimately combat operations could resume. And President Trump told Fox News that right now they have bases all over the world. There are American preparations underway. He said they're all stocked with equipment and we can use all of that stuff. And if he needs it, he will use it. But the headline here, Sandra, the president issuing a new warning to the Iranian regime if they do fire on U.S. vessels in the Persian Gulf or near the Strait of Hormuz. And today we can report, according to CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, there were multiple attempts on American vessels and merchant ships in this region. And Cooper says that there were U.S. efforts to shoot down both missiles and drones in the Persian Gulf as these Iranian efforts to attack vessels in the region continue.
So it sounds like the ceasefire's broken. And if the ceasefire's broken, this is going to be bad news for whoever doesn't have the ability to continue a sustained conventional military campaign. And I think we all know who that is.
The head of Iran's parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee is, quote, warning any American interference in the new maritime regime of the Strait of Hormuz will be considered a violation of the ceasefire.
Right,
the
and they're the ones
Hormuz
attacking.
and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. No one would believe
these guys are delusional
scenarios. The UK military says the U.S. has now established an enhanced security area for ships via Oman's territorial waters south of where traffic usually transits in the Strait of Hormuz. The UK warns that the security level, though, remains critical in the strait.
But listen to what the president said about how this is going for Iran.
But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years.
You also said last night that
they told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording now. Yeah.
Last night you also said that only like 85% of Iran's missile-making capabilities has been eliminated.
85% of the missiles eliminated.
15% important. Does the United States need to eliminate that?
Well, I'd like to eliminate it. Yeah.
It'd be good if those were gone.
It'd be a start for them to build up again. And yeah, I would like to eliminate it.
Sir,
how do they got these numbers?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter.
They just asked, under what circumstances would you restart operations? But to me, it sounds like Iran has restarted military operations. It sounds like they're the ones going on offense. Now, technically, the ceasefire that we have here is between the U.S. and Iran, but they allegedly fired on some U.S. ships. Now, there is reporting coming in where the U.S. says it has sunk 6 Iranian boats. Apparently, these boats were targeting civilian vessels after Iran reportedly mounted a missile and drone attack on the commercial ships that the U.S. forces were protecting. But how exactly does this operation to sneak ships out of the Strait of Hormuz, how is that going to work when Iran says they control the whole thing? Do they or don't they?
It's a very comprehensive and somewhat complicated operation. We've already cleared a lane free of mines.
See, let me say this. You know one thing about it? You know, it can look like, you know, when we're talking politics here, it can look like everyone isn't having an issue with this war but the U.S. because there's allies. You get what I'm saying? So Iran gets the benefit and they fight this hard because of their allies. It's almost like if you got a fall man, Iran could damn near be that fall man, and you know, everybody else is getting a good deal, and the people that's getting the short end of the stick are the ones that have common enemies with Iran. You get what I'm saying? Now, allies do things like that behind backs because they have enemies with other countries as well, but they don't want it make to look and seem that way. You get what I'm saying? They make it look to seem as if they're also in agreement. But as you can see, you know, keep your enemies close, but your friends closer. Or well, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Now, if you flip-flop it, either way you go, man. Anybody against you, opposition, they ops, man. And it's just like, you know, fuck all that, nigga. You gotta stay tacked. Always stay tacked. You feel me?
Along the coast of Oman.
Stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready.
Point away on the other side of the straits is where Iran is, and all the ships that have passed through have been passing through a lane that they established very close to the Iranian border of the straits. So that's step one, and that is already done. The other thing is we're going to put in a layered defense, scores of miles away from the Straits of Hormuz, with hundreds of surveillance drones as well as manned aircraft to intercept long-range drones, long-range missiles, anti-ship missiles
like an
that
Iron
may
Dome.
be fired at distance to try to intervene with ships going through the straits. And then as you get to the straits themselves, we're establishing what we call a dome defense. And that is at the terminal point where ships would be and be at their most vulnerable as they're going through a narrow corridor that our audience has seen on a map many, many times. That dome defense will make certain that anything fired that penetrates through the layered defense will be defeated.
So it's basically checkmate for Iran. Their ability to control the Strait is over. They don't have the resources to launch any meaningful attacks, and if they do, those attacks are going to be blocked, and these ships are going to make their way out, which sure makes it look like they're losing, doesn't it?
Yeah, so let's level set here. I think the Iranians are starting to believe their own propaganda. And just to be clear, the leadership is hunkered down in bunkers all over the country. And I don't think they know what's going on. But what is going on is that they're reduced. Their navy is not a navy anymore. It's a band of pirates. They are trying to cut off international freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. is opening that up.
See, it's an international problem.
Effort. I can tell you,
it's not just a U.S.
was IMF World Bank Week in
but
Washington.
The U.S. is the ones that stand up to do something.
Countries come up to me, some of the poorest, some of the most
because
vulnerable,
we have agreements,
and ask us to do this because it's not only energy that's in there, it's fertilizer, it's food transport. It's LPG for the more than the billion plus people.
Right, Iran is trying to basically make themselves the enemy of the entire world here. They don't care if they starve people in poor countries that have trouble already. They don't care if they launch missiles at their neighbors. There's literally nothing that they care about. They don't even care about what's happening to their own people. And we're supposed to believe that they're this mighty offensive force that is going to stay in this thing forever and is going to outlast the United States. I think they've made a massive miscalculation.
Used to cook. So we are saying the Iranians do not have control of the Strait.
No.
We have absolute control of the Strait.
They lost
we have
control.
Blockaded the ships going into or out of Iranian ports. Their economy is in free fall.
Yep.
And everyone says they have the high tolerance for pain. Well, their soldiers will not have a high tolerance for not getting paid.
That's huge.
Senator Reid believes that we are in a worse off economic position because of Iran. Let's watch him.
Let's hear this
week.
Strategically, we're in many respects, a much worse position. The Strait of Hormuz is blockaded.
We're
seeing incredible impacts economically in the United States in oil prices, fertilizer prices. The world itself is shuddering under some of these economic blows. So this has been a tactical demonstration of prowess, but is not achieve the strategic goals that the president announced.
Who are you listening to?
Senator Reid?
I would say, unfortunately, Senator Reid, who had a distinguished military career, has now joined the surrender lobby.
Right. It's like people want to see the United States lose this thing. People want to see Iran's people come out beneath the regime. They want to see the regime survive. Why is that? Why is there a surrender lobby in America? We don't have to surrender. This thing is almost over, and the best days of Iran are just around the corner. For its people, anyways.
That this has been going on for 3 weeks, that the Iranian economy is in free fall, and to be clear here, this is an international humanitarian operation.
Right.
We are opening the strait. The Iranians do not have control
Why would you
of the
not want
strait,
this?
and for him to say that, it's sad he believes the Iranian propaganda.
Right,
there was
it's all
this
propaganda.
report from the overnight that the United States Navy, in a measure of good faith, returned an Iranian vessel, not to Iran, but to the Pakistanis. I think there were at least a dozen Iranians on board, and it was seen as a sign of a good faith. Was Project Freedom done in coordination with Iran today?
Absolutely not. Project Freedom is something that's been in the works, and we would encourage the Iranians to let these more than 300 vessels leave.
But they can't do that, because if they let ships leave, peacefully. It means they don't have control over the thing they're saying they still control. There's two sides, two opinions on what's happening right now. Opinion number one is that the U.S. blockade is successful. Iran's economy is in free fall. We've got hard numbers to prove all of this. They have zero Navy, which also proves this. And then the other side is, Trump's losing. Trump doesn't have a plan. The United States is going to suffer. He's going to collapse our economy. And the only way this viewpoint exists is if the regime exists and if they keep sending their speedboats out there to attack empty tankers, flying the flags of countries that aren't even involved in this conflict at all.
That, you know, they can fire on them. You know, they're
Confusion.
I think it's called the Mosquito Navy. Is being swatted. Numerous ships,
the Mosquito Navy,
in double digits, have been destroyed. And the U.S., we are just firing if fired upon. We are not the provocateurs here.
The ceasefire's over at this point.
If the Iranians want to escalate here, we are willing to escalate.
So this is clearly a test.
Chat, wait till y'all see this next video, y'all. Make sure y'all tap in. So personally, chat, I pretty much seen everything I need to see. Wait till y'all see this next video, guys. I'm gonna edit this one and drop this one as soon as I can. Wait till I see this next video because I'm excited to see it myself. I'm hearing it's some big movement, forward movement, progressive movement into this war. So stay tuned, y'all. Stay tuned.